We're live.
What is up, Scuff family? You're probably wondering why we wearing these sunglasses, dude. The future is bright, dude. Gotta look past the present, dude. Right? But this is me being like a tryhard, dude. Trying to make red baby work, dude. But then these people playing Vegeks, like tier 0 deck, they're like, oopsie, bruh. I just mailed a card and come to play, bruh. Like, bro, I don't interact with you, bro. I'm gonna be a ship, a board floating through the ocean, bruh.
Yeah,
What do you think,
dude,
man?
you gotta have chill vibes, dude, when you're playing Vegeks, bro. You gotta mill the top 5 cards of your deck every turn, dude. Get that free value, dude. It's all about a mantra and attitude, broski. Test my ghost. You gotta. This is a lifestyle approach, dude.
Totes my ghost. It is a lifestyle, my dude.
It's a lifestyle, dude.
So this is our family, bro. We got, as always, Mr. Lava Cake Briscoe, bro.
Just want to ramp my energy, bruh.
Try and do hard, dude. Do less, bro.
My son, my boy, my buddy, Mr. Patsimilian O'Neill. Dude, how you doing, dude? Why you looking green, bro?
Oh no, dude.
Why you looking green, bro?
What's green, pal?
You looking green, bro?
Ramp up the
Yeah, I
energy,
know, bro.
dude. Your
You want
vibes
to
are
my ears, bro? Just
Dude,
have my ears blowing, bro.
Is your have you checked your expiration date, bro? You
Nah,
looking
bro.
green,
Bro, nah, you're Yoda.
Mr.
Nah,
Mr.
bro.
Cole.
It's that Namekian
Oh,
hairdo, bro.
Oh, I thought that was Yoda.
Mr.
No,
Brushes,
bro. It's Piccolo,
Mis-
bro.
Mr. Combs, Mr. Brushes, Mr. Bruh. What you doing, bruh? How you
Dude.
doing?
Mr. Worldwide.
Good, Mr. Worldwide, dude. Good vibes only on this podcast, bro. We're here today to talk about the Dragon Ball Super card game, dude. Guess what, dude? Vegeks' favorite song is Back to Back by Drek, dude, because you milled those cards back to back, bro.
Mr. Dr. Ricardo Sapp. Dude, why you
Dude.
such a tryhard, dude? Making Dretch could work, dude.
Dude, I get your hand down to 0, my dude. And then you're like, my hand is like a 0, dude. But my deck is like 70, dude. And I'm just like, now play that card, dude. Now play that card, dude. Play that card, my dude.
That's sick, dude.
So
I'll-
chill.
I'll
So
play-
chill.
I'll play Starbund, dude. Make you discard a card.
No idea what's going on.
What is up, Sofan?
Who were those people? They're never coming back.
Shout out to
All right.
Blake, our buddy, our brother. We love you, baby.
Brought to you by Chad, who was brought to you by Monster.
Chad, dude.
That it.
Hope everybody is doing well for episode. What episode are we even on?
Oh, 6, 7, something like that.
I was gonna say 6.
7.
5-ish.
Lucky number 7.
7, dude.
For those of you that have watched all 7 episodes and acquired the 3 XG balls, you get 5 joyous men to have whatever wishes you want, as long as it's card game related.
We'll give. You know what? Here's what we'll do. We'll give them
I like
this
the disclaimer.
half-open pack of katanas. Please. That's
Sick.
One sleeve per person that requests them.
Katanas are my favorite.
first
bro.
come, first serve. First come, first serve.
They shuffled like butter, bruh.
Like
It's something
So-
like butter.
They shuffle like
So we
fresh
would-
butter, dude.
So we would love to go real deep about the trading card game, but first we need to tell you about why we're able to go deep, dude. Because we had surprise 3XG boot camp over the weekend. Frisco, Matt, Jose, and I were able to sabotage Jose, who had a reverse surprise birthday party. Reverse surprise birthday party, meaning that his brother was having a birthday party, and we crashed it without Jose knowing. And we spent a lot of time eating cinnamon rolls. We spent a lot of time eating lasagna, and we spent a freaking poop ton, 1 metric poop ton of hours playing the Dragon Ball Super card game.
You got
So, let's talk about it. Jose, start us off. Tell me a little bit about the non-competitive DBS-related parts of your weekend.
The non-competitive part of the weekend. Food was amazing. I had the opportunity to cook for my buddies. I made lasagna the Puerto Rican style, bruh, following the family recipe. With a lot of carbs on top of carbs. So because we eat lasagna with rice and beans. So yes, it was a lot of food, a lot of fun.
Decente.
Decente. And
That was in your Italian recipe, right? Instead of el dente, it says decente.
Decente. And
2 pinches of Decente.
That's the spice. The spice melange.
The spice
2
melange.
pinches of decente.
Yeah, when I saw these guys come through the front door, I was like, what happened? Like, what's going on?
It's adorable. Add Jose on Facebook and watch the videos. They're so wholesome.
Oh my goodness, yes. Priceless.
They are.
So yeah, man. It was great times. We essentially had training camps, so we did dedicate a lot of DBS time as well. Non-DBS time, we played a lot of Mafia, Secret Hitler. You know,
Ooh, Secret Hitler's a great game. You guys played Secret Hitler without me? Oh man,
Yeah.
I love that game.
That's why we said that we needed like the tier list from Pat when we were playing that. Like we needed to make a tier list of people.
So for those of you that don't know those games, they're all variants of werewolves of social deduction games in which people were intentionally lying to other people to try to accomplish things, depending on what their agendas are. Pat, I have to ask you now, what is your style when it comes to social deduction games?
What do you mean style? Like, could you clarify just slightly?
What is your mentality that you approach? Do you tend to be the loudest person in the room? Do you try to chronically tell the truth and only lie like
yeah,
once
I'm
per
very,
game?
I'm pretty much a straight, like a straight shooter when it comes to those kinds of games. I've been told that like, I don't play too many werewolf games, but I have played a lot of Secret Hitler. I've been told that when I'm the fascist, I'm actually very good at it. I'm very good at deceiving people. But I try to be as straight as possible.
It's a crap.
What a fascist would say.
Yep, exactly.
100%.
Yeah.
You fascist piece
So-
of crap.
I try to just play it. I play it as cool as I possibly can.
Okay. Now, Frisco, you that was just one of your first times playing a lot of games in that genre too, correct?
Yeah, I actually, it's always kind of, I don't want to say like on the to-do list. I always want to just have a board game night, kind of hang out with a bunch of good friends, good people, and just jam out some games because I love board games. It's just time, and I'm glad we did it. And I learned how to play Goo, and that's my new game. And at Gen Con next year, I'm going to town. I'm just bypassing any nationals for DBS. And I'm just entering in, and I'm just gonna raffle stop on people. Forget about it.
I'll join you. One of the funnest things about playing those games with you, Frisco, your personality changed drastically, and I don't even know if you realize how drastically different you played those games. I don't know, Matt. Did you notice some of that too?
Which game?
I think it was mostly Mafia, but I just felt like over time, Frisco went from being very proactive to very laid back and passive.
Yeah, 100%. He was waiting to
Mafia
see
3 times in a row, baby.
Yeah.
You're telling me that the guy who literally won't close a game because he's too passive is laid back and
But
passive?
I still feel like there was something wrong, man, because game 1 he became a bum for some reason. Then he was Mafia the whole time. I don't get it, bro. I don't get it. Suspicious. Pretty
What you're saying
suspicious.
is tier 1 Frisco.
Frisco's tier 1. Yes.
At pulling important roles, yeah.
But I gotta say, I disagree with you guys. This is how Frisco plays everything.
This is
Because he
true.
plays blue. It's like,
That's what I
No
just
way.
said. So the guy who plays passively in card games, it takes
No
9
way.
turns to kill you.
I
The guy
agree.
that plays passively in Mafia. Okay.
charge pants. Let me draw 2 cards and pants.
Negate pass.
So, but it's your turn. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, just pants.
The highlight of those games for me were personally, so there was one game, and for those of you that have never played Secret Hitler, so you have 3 people that are of the same faction and they're of a team, but one of those team members aren't aware of who their teammates are. So in this 9-person game, me, Matt, and Jose just happened to get aligned on the same team, and we won with an almost flawless record. Like it's kind of like first to 5 points, and it was like 4-1. or 4-2 maybe. But on top of that, me, who was the secret Hitler, I deducted very quickly.
It was 3-0 because we needed to make Hitler the chancellor, and
That's
we
right.
played it on turn.
That's basically what the premise
three.
of the game, if you guys don't know, is that it's basically a struggle between liberals and fascists to try and overthrow the government. And the fascist goal is to basically stop the liberals from passing liberal laws while installing Hitler into power. But Hitler doesn't know who his teammates are. He just knows he's Hitler.
Exactly. So it was awesome, and it was fantastic because we had so many different personalities in the room. You know, aside from the Scrub fans, my brother was there. There was some of my friends from Ohio as well. DBS players too. And it was fascinating because we had my friend Joe. Shout out to Joe Ryan, my buddy that we played set in paper in person. He wouldn't shut up. He's like when he's the fascist, he makes you think that he's making you think that he's a liberal. So he's like openly, we could clearly tell that he's a freaking fascist.
He's really making you think he's Pac-Man because the entire time.
Paco. And then DBS related, the best moment DBS related of the weekend was when we played draft.
Cube, yeah.
We played Cube. Sorry, we played Cube.
Cube.
We played
my
Cube.
My favorite format was your favorite part of the weekend.
And my number one.
Sad that I couldn't go.
My number one learning: source of power broken.
Source of power is broken in Cube, bro.
Yeah,
broken.
So Frisco, tell me a little bit about your experience with like a limited sealed format, because my impression is that you don't get to do it very much at all.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit as far as like what the deck building aspect and wanting to or needing to figure out a strategy pretty much out the gate, and you just kind of have to roll with it. You don't have much flexibility to change midway through or anything like that, and you just kind of have to build the best deck possible, and you have to be comfortable going into multiple different colors. I think it was really cool. It was really fun. It was cool to play with cards that you don't play with anymore, because it makes you remember the good times, the old times of the game and stuff like that, which we probably better. Yeah, right. Which we all agree were probably better times when you're actually paying cards
for things.
Exactly.
That's the best part about it, is you have to actually like cast cards.
And and reminding us how terrifying it is to tap out.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember the strategy always, like prior to whatever set, was like pay everything one cost under your energy and leave a negate. That was like the strategy.
Or
4, you're not playing until 5 energy.
Or draw your singletons, draw your Shugash, Kikoku every time.
Bro, I don't want to talk about it. It is brutal.
Yeah.
I think Jose drafted Shugash.
Yeah.
If there's a video on the Facebook group that you could go back. Maybe we'll even see if we can find a link or something for it, and add in the description if we get a chance. It's pretty entertaining. Other than that, we played a couple other trading card games. We played Llamas Unleashed that I was showing off earlier. Playing that with 8 players were pretty interesting. We participated in a project that Matt's working on. We participated in some Kaijudo, which was the game that I came from before DBS. That was a cool introduction to a game that may not be the most complex to play, but it's very simple to learn, and everybody was playing like pros within the first 2 games. It was pretty cool. And then that got us through most of Friday, and then between Friday night and Saturday, I'd say we got in 16 hours of Dragon Ball Super.
Sir,
fair.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
And that's the most memorable things about it were just how much our IRL testing over the weekend aligned with our philosophies when we test online. And maybe, Matt, you can talk a little bit about some of the trends about how we were play testing that might be different than how another group of 5-6 people would test.
So, are you talking about just doing it over this weekend or just in general?
Yeah, in general.
Yeah, so in general, our testing usually comes from a lot of theory-based conversations first, just based off of things that we know that work. And then we test a lot of the stuff that we like to test and want to test that's new and feels powerful first. And then once we do that, we start getting finalized versions of those. But then we also take into account the community perception and perspective. And so this weekend was a great time for us to bite the bullet and do the thing that we were trying to avoid doing the absolute most. because we knew how busted the combo version of the Vegeks deck was. But this weekend we knew that we had to decide to bite the bullet and see how it was. So we took our time. We crafted tons of lists, over the weekend to not only, except for that one, but also just things that were becoming true in our testing during the format, just from various matchups that seem pretty polarizing, where it's like it feels like the right place to be is like you're doing a lot of things in the first 3 turns of the game, or you're so good in the middle and later parts in the game that the first 3 turns don't matter. And so our testing then kind of just like became us trying to get much better at those 2 polarizing things. We learned a lot, in general over the weekend, but I think just starting from that place of theory, we got a lot of things right, but then we were also, perceptions about the way matchups would look, we were off too. So, and then, the things that matter in the format, we have changed a lot. At first it was like the first one to play a unison is the best. Well, now it's like, well, yes, you can be the first, but if it's a unison that's not stopping you from losing the game, then how good is that unison? Right. So it was interesting over the weekend.
That's a good point. And then Jose, I think when a lot of people picture 6 guys prepping for a regional in the same room, they picture, 3 different groups. You're playing your worst matchups. Everybody's playing at the same time. You're just trying to get as many reps in the room as possible. But that's not really how we approach it, was it?
No, sir. Because the really important thing is that you have everybody focus on one single thing at the same time, because you need to look how you're playing and different lines of play, right? Everybody plays differently. For example, one of the decks that we were looking into is Red Baby. That Frisco had the idea, so I wanted to learn how to baby. I wanted to learn how to play it because, baby, hello, yeah, right. So wanted to try to play it, but we made sure that Frisco sat next to me, coaching me how to drive it. I'm playing against Richard. He was playing Dredgeku, and then
you might need to up your volume a little bit, Jose.
Sorry, it's the mic. Probably far away.
There you go.
So I wanted to learn baby. So I asked Frisco to sit next to me so he can coach me more or less the premise and what the thought process of the deck is. Then I was playing Richard. He was playing Dredgeku. And then Matt was also looking at the game. So the idea is that we want to absorb as much information as possible and be as efficient as possible, right? Because we are only 4 people. We were only 4 people at that moment. So divide and conquer it actually dilutes the value that you're gonna get from your time. So you want to really maximize the data that you get, because you don't get 100 games. So you want to maximize the data that you get, and then collect the best ideas, and then filter from that, and then do some fine tuning. So that was actually a perfect example of the baby deck. So we actually were able to change about 6 to 7 cards that actually pushed the deck to be now a potential 1.5 deck. That it could still let you top in a tournament. So yeah, and the main learning from this weekend, DBS wise, the Migra, Unison, stop working, bro. Stop working. He's still working, bro.
He's still on the clock.
Dude, we're not playing, still doing work, bro. Stop working.
He's still on the clock, bro. He's still
so good, man. Like, it was so significant.
To chime in a little bit on that, so what I think a big thing to recognize is the quality versus the quantity, because when we have more people looking at the game, I know we mentioned the lines, but there's lines of play that either player might not see, but we want to recognize it right there before it's missed, because then if that play is not done when we know it's the correct play, then that game could be like null and void. Like, that could drastically change the outcome of the game. Yeah. And then your perception of what is a good matchup versus a bad matchup, etc. And then also, yeah, that's pretty much it. That's pretty much right.
So it's actually the point that you were just making about all of us watching the game, what's really actually cool and is starting to come up more and more, is that since all of us play so differently, like,
exactly,
and we all play so differently, we all see different opportunities for different things. So I'm starting to learn about myself. I'm really good at determining the make or break turn of when, like, the balance between when you're gonna win the game, when you're gonna lose the game. So it's like, over the weekend, a lot of my direction was like, I think you have to do this now. But then you'd get someone else would just be like, oh, I think you need to reevaluate, check the resources or something like that, or Frisco would chime in or Zap would chime in and be like, no, I think you need to relax. And then like we'd have a conversation about it, and then like talk about all the options, and then end up coming to the best decision together, and then inevitably making that decision. And then now
or we'd go both ways, and then we would try both lines of play and see at the end of the following half of a turn and following turn which direction would have made more sense.
And another thing that I wanted to build on that also is that we don't quit when like we play one game and then we had suboptimal hands or we try to prove the theory, right? If the deck is supposed to do try to kill you on turn 3, let's try to have the closest scenarios possible to see if actually the idea is worthwhile, right? Because if you play the games and you never sell the cards, it's like, okay, then
exactly.
It was worth the time.
If Frisco's testing Invoker and he goes 3 games in a row, never opening War Tournament Arena, how valid is that data? Right.
Exactly.
Pat, think about some of the times that you've tested IRL. What do you think are some common fallacies that you see other players do to avoid?
I mean, well, the big one that is the one that Frisco already touched on, which is that if you don't see a specific line of play, it just completely skews the data. Deck construction can also skew that. Like you might be missing something, your ratios might be off, you might not be seeing things as much as you should be.
Right.
That like a card that's in your sideboard might actually need to be in your main board, and like without having the conversation, you don't actually bring it into the main board. Because like if like let's say, Vegeks is 60% of the field, and this is a card you side for the Vegeks matchup, maybe then it's actually worth main boarding and having that discussion. How many copies would you bring in there without impacting your matchup spread?
Yeah, that's a really good point too. Sorry.
One last thing I wanted to add is that because normally, right, you have friends and you play the same way, or you guys share ideas. Force yourself to play the deck in a different way. Force yourself to do what if I actually do this? Make mistakes in testing.
That's exactly. I actually do that a lot. I intentionally don't take the optimal play just to see what happens.
Exactly. And if something feels a bad matchup, play at least 2 more games after the first one to see if there's anything else that you could have done to even get closer, right? So for example, we were playing against Vegeks. I was playing against Vegeks, and there was one game that I almost stole it. I felt like if I would have had a different card, maybe I had some chance of stealing the game. That made me think okay, this deck is in a really pretty good position. I can actually fight my way again with Vegeks. Of course, Vegeks is still 70-30. More like 80-20. Like 95-5.
Really, are you paying energy for your cards?
Dude, trying too hard, dude.
Pay them for
great job.
Dude, all it takes one time, dude.
Just one time, dude. Dude, why are you comboing all your cards, dude? I got a bibbity super combo.
So the point I wanted to make is that try to don't quit quickly, right? So follow your gut feeling, and you feel like maybe there's something else I could have tried. Don't quit there, and quit early. Quit early when you feel like the game is not gonna progress anymore. You're not gonna learn something. Scoop a source.
I have to say something because you say that learning to scoop is a huge deal, and people in this game don't understand.
In this format, it's so important.
Okay, so they're just hypothetically, we're not playing in paper. Locals, I think, are opening up at some point soon, maybe this week or whatever around the country.
This week.
You usually have about an hour around, right? If the average game length is 30-35 minutes in this format, and you can't win, and it's 17 minutes into the round, it's one of the most important skills to have. There's no reason, if you have a 7-3 matchup not in your favor game 1, and it's looking pretty grim, and go to your sideboard where you actually advance.
Let's do one more exercise. Let's do 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. One more.
If you commonly watch other games at high level, you'll see people just scoop their cards literally turn 2, turn 3 once it's past the make or break turn for them, and they haven't got the opening that they wanted to.
Exactly.
They'll just like, all right, I'm just going to concede game 1 so that way 2 and 3, I'm now going to be on the play. I'm going to have all the sideboard options, and I'm going to be prepared and ready, and I'm just going to make this 2-0 sweep, this reverse.
And worst case, in tournament, worst case, you get time to drink water, go to the bathroom.
You get to replenish.
I do like the analogy that if you scoop early, you're playing to win, versus if you're going, like, if you're stalling out for game 1, not intentionally, you're probably going to have a draw.
But, like, people in this game don't, I'm not going to name the names, but there are noble players who don't scoop and then just get a ton of draws. And it's just like, if you had scooped, you could have very easily had enough time to 2-1 your opponent. But because you fight tooth and nail to not lose game 1, it's like, okay, like you can't win the match now. The best you could hope for is a draw.
My favorite example of that story, I was playing in round 2 or 3 of the ARG 10K in Jersey. I'm playing Yellow Dende. I start game 2 with 5 balls in life. I immediately scoop up without finishing my first turn.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Absolutely. Yep.
Absolutely. That game went to the first turn of time. Yeah. There's no way that finishes otherwise.
Yeah, because you're in a position odds of winning than 15%.
Mm-hmm. And I think one other big thing about testing in a holistic manner is people not playing can be much more objective about situations.
Absolutely.
There were times where Jose was getting frustrated because he was playing an uphill matchup and he really just wanted to scoop. And even if he wanted to quit because he was confident it was not going to play out, it was so educational for everybody else watching to finish those games. There was a time that I played one of the last games I played after I had a sick winning streak and I was really feeling myself. So I'm like, all right, let's go against Vegeks. We got this. And I just get literally punched in the face. Like my nose is bleeding. And so I realized I'm playing Dredge Q at the time. And I get Matt's hand down to 0. And I'm like, okay, there is some semblance of a chance. It might be 6 life to 3 life, but there's a semblance of a chance. And he goes and he draws his 1 card for the turn, and he looks at his unison that has 4 counters on it, and he goes, okay. and that was totally fine, and I probably would have lost either way. But if outside people were paying more attention to it, and my frustration wasn't there, we could have objectively looked at it and been like, okay, realistically, he had 1 left in his deck. He had 15 cards left. Chances are he wasn't actually going to get it. So he probably could have shuffled it back, had a more average draw, and see how it would have played out. Again, it probably wouldn't have made a huge difference, but it would have been more educational. So having those outside lenses to point out when somebody draws exceptionally well or exceptionally poor, you can try to collect more like middle of the lane data.
One of my big weaknesses as a person is that when I am playing a game, I tend to tunnel vision, or draw like I have a lot of recency bias. I'll draw like the wrong conclusions in the moment because I'm salty. And I like having people watch my game so that way they can remind me to not tunnel vision or not, chalk it up to those kind of results. That's super helpful with them. Like try not to be results oriented. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's something that I'm always thankful for when I'm testing is I get that kind of feedback. And if you guys are not doing that in your like circle of friends or like at your local store when you guys are testing, try it. It's really helpful.
Yeah, one thing I like that we do quite often is like things that we tutor, or like the last one is like in the life or whatever. We just like swap it out because we don't like that variance to be so compelling in the game in that matchup at the time. So I definitely like that we do that a lot because we're like, all right, I just spent all my energy, or I spent energy on this. I'm getting 0 value. Let's just play it as the value rather than just me.
Yeah, like I think it was,
or even if we charge the wrong thing
recently. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying like even if we charge the wrong thing, it's like I should have charged this card instead. It's like we swap it.
Real shark, bro.
Yeah. We don't care about the W's, bro.
It's all about that actual data, dude.
I forget what match it was. I think I was playing against Jose where it was like I checked my life and like all 4 of my win cons were in the last 5 of my life, and I was like, can we not?
So thinking about not so much the lessons we learned, but thinking about like what actual cards overperformed or underperformed. We can go around and all share. And Pat, maybe you can talk about some combo or something that's been really on top of your head. I know for me, one key card that overperformed was reevaluating Vegeta Unison of Rage. A lot of people have been looking at that card as you play it on 2, and you tap it to give it a counter, and then you subtract the counter again, and now they can't super overly rush you. And that doesn't work too well because they usually go swing with their leader, swing with their Unison, and now it's gone anyway. So when people talk about how Topo versus Vegeks seems one-sided, that interaction does not make it feel that way. But the value in Vegeta Unison of Rage is looking at it as a 3-cost
Fury.
Unison of Fury. Looking at it as a 3-cost, 4-cost finisher, where it's I'm going to play my 20k battle card with Barrier, Deflect, Double Strike, Dual Attack, and Tap and Energy. And when you look at it like that, it's a pretty playable card.
Decent.
Frisco, anything you played with that over or underperformed?
Let me think. I think Bardock definitely Resolute. The black card Double Strike comes out when you deal opponent damage or they put the life in their drop. Definitely overperformed. 1-cost Double Strikers. They just put in work right now. And if you want to apply any pressure, you just have to have them in your deck.
Yeah. There are plenty of games where somebody went swing with a 10 or 15k leader and then play the one cost Double Striker that became a Resolute, and they're down to 3 life turn 1, and you're just
oh.
Just take the wheel, baby.
I won't take it. I won't take everything. I'll let Jose go.
Well, I know Jose was really excited about the Unison, the 1-cost Demigra Unison, right?
Yes.
So why is that still on the clock?
Because they it essentially comes down for 1 cost, and it becomes a 2 with 2 counters, right? So they want to swing at it on turn 1, and you don't want to take the life on his permanent. Just lose a counter, right? He's not gonna die. You just take life later. So it's amazing. It's a pressure that stays there, and if you want to keep open the counterplay, the charismatic emperor or villain, forgot, Frieza, you just take the life early on and just protect and keep the counterplay. It sets up for so many things, and then the -3 ability overperformed greatly, especially against Gotenks and against Vegeks as well. So there was at one point that Matt was flipping his cards and things were coming for free. I was confused and bored at the same time, and I'm not joking. But he had 7 bodies on board, and yeah, thanks to the Demigra. And combined with the baby ability and combined with the liqueur ability, I was able to clean the board, which that was the game that it was close to being able to steal it. So yeah, Demigra is a busted Unison. It's one of the top.
Oh no,
you lost him.
It's one.
Yeah.
Oh no.
But yeah,
then he was.
He's coming. He's coming.
I'm here.
That's what she said.
Got him. So sorry about that. So no, Demigra is a fantastic Unison. It's one of the top Unisons, really. Don't lose the opportunity to test it and look into it. Dude, look at it. It's still working. It's working overtime.
Yeah.
It's working.
Yeah, when you're playing an aggressive strategy, and your opponent just pummels your Unison and you never get the chance to pick up your life, it feels rough. But Demigra allows you to mitigate that.
Especially, it would be a good avenue for also leaders that don't have self-awakening, or actually an avenue for it's okay, turn 3 is my power play, so I really want to be able to awaken by turn 3. It's fantastic. It sets you up for success in that area. Yeah.
Okay. Matt, anything particularly enlightening from your end, either something that overperformed or underperformed?
Underperformed. Invoker severely underperformed through our testing. I do think the deck has to go a different route, and I started brewing a different build that I feel has a lot of potential, and it involves you going away from Tournament of Power Arena, which I know is sacrilege. But the card just feels you're just not. I mean, the biggest thing that stands out is the theory that I've talked about for a long time in this format, which is I'd rather just play 50 good cards. I want everything in my deck to be playable. Curve considerations are even now more important. There's a lot of decks that you can play, like the yellow decks, that aren't doing anything on turn 2 and 3. Like if you don't have a Saiyan Instincts to play, and say you have a bunch of Raiders Warcry, but you have a Unison out, your opponent just swings at your Unison, then you're not getting to use your energy. So tempo is super important right now. So I think the biggest thing that stands out is card-wise, singular. Jose's games confirms my beliefs in Demigre Unison, which I feel like is very similar to the Gotenks Unison in black, where it's, if you get it early, even if it costs 1, it's just sticking on the board every single turn and applying some sort of meaningful pressure means a lot. Vegeta Unison and Fury in both applications, like you talked about, Zap, being able to play one early to stop your opponent from killing you, being able to play one late to kill your opponent. I think that card is awesome in overall testing. And then Reboot Gohan is still a deck that doesn't get enough respect, and it should get a lot of respect. The deck is incredibly powerful.
Oh, it performed.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's one of the only decks that can fight in a very similar space, and then has that mantra about it where it's like, I just need to not die for a single turn, and then I think I can kill my opponent on the next turn. So it's like, it's one of those critical decks, I think, in the format that is going to have a place in early competitive tournaments, unless something is done about the Vegeks.
The Boogeyman,
thing.
yeah.
The Boogeyman.
Yeah, and Enduring Potential Unleashes that card that lets you do that if I had one more turn. Possibly in tandem with Demigre Unison, possibly with not. I think we're both... there's some different opinions on that, but forward to testing both. Pat, I know you've been brainstorming good old blue leaders. We had a whole bunch of fun with them 3-4 weeks ago, and then that's kind of gone by the wayside. Do you have any ideas on where to explore with decks like Vegito, Soul Striker?
I was actually going to say yes, Zamasu. Because I haven't put as much time into Zamasu as I probably should, but the big knock against the Zamasu, at least the list we've been playing, haven't really changed in a couple weeks. So it's too linear, but I guess it's like what Matt's saying with Reboot Gohan. I've won a lot of games in turn 3 when my opponent's on 2 energy in Zamasu. That has to account for something. That has to mean that there's something there. If you just get good hands, you can just run people over right away. And it's not like, I run them over and I have 4 cards in hand. I run them over with 10 cards in hand usually. So, I mean, that's the leader I think to me that has the best chance in a format where everyone's trying to play Vegeks. Especially because we had the blue tournament previews, that Trunks, that's like a floodgate, right? The deck's already playing Zamasu to aggro, not Zamasu, Zeno. You're already playing Zeno to get aggro going, just getting a free floodgate on top of that, or I should say a 1-cost floodgate on top of that, is pretty good. I think that helps it a lot. Haven't put any real reps in with that card, but I definitely think that that's something to explore. Again, the deck just to me reminds me of good old Marcel Russell Vegeta, just try and kill you in the first 3 turns. I don't really see it as much different than that. So I do think that there is something to be said about that leader.
I gotta say, a parenthesis here, Pat. I am so proud of you that you're actually playing the game. So proud of you. I love you.
Not actually control.
Exactly.
I mean, to be
you're
fair,
actually being an aggro player. I love it.
I mean, almost every single blue deck that I've played this set has been to try and kill you quickly, or if it doesn't try and kill you quickly, it just tries to burn you out, or just do consistent damage every turn. So I guess you could say it's more like a mid-range deck that has a long game plan. So yeah, the only control one is Invoker, and you guys are telling me that it's not doing well, which is a big yikes for me because I got rid of basically all my cards except for Invoker. So paper is going to be wonderful.
Let's rephrase that statement. So the reason why we're saying that is because if it can't beat Dredgeku and it can't beat Vegeks, its place in the format becomes a non-existent. Because if you can't beat one of the 2 best decks, what reason do you have playing the deck if you can't beat one of the 2?
Yeah, so it's important to clarify that. So we were testing, and we'll be honest, I was drawing well and I was playing very well. Before we whipped out Vegeks, Dredgeku wasn't dropping a list. Most of the games were not even close, and we were creating some pretty strong biases about that being the second best deck. It's so good. It's definitely one of the best decks, and it needs to. I think we probably need to put more effort into it. But particularly, we probably played 5 games of Invoker versus Dredgeku, and that in particular was feeling really uncomfortable. And then I think we did Gotenks too, and the Gotenks matchup was much closer than we originally expected. Am I recalling correctly?
Gotenks versus Invoker or versus Dredgeku?
Yeah, Gotenks versus Invoker.
No, really.
I know. I think
was...
Invoker is pretty favored against Gotenks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, just because it's very hard for Gotenks to kill them before turn 4, turn 5.
Invoker is just really bad against decks that can go fast or just rip its hand apart early.
Yeah. And
That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons. By the way, I don't know what your list was. That's one of the reasons, Frisco, why I say like you guys lean into Sleepy Boy a lot, and that's why I like Cost, because Cost allows you to proactively draw.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't make a difference, I promise you.
I think we're pretty confident that Apex of Power is essential for Invoker at this point, right?
Yes. That's one of the key learnings that we had. Yeah. Because at one point you feel like, well, I don't have. It's like like a combo deck, right? So you're gonna be missing pieces.
Yeah, if you brick, it's your only way to
It's a
win.
slim chance of beating Dredgeku if you pull Apex out and they tap out and they can't use a negate. Because they can't use blocker, they can't use Leader's Hero to blow it up. So you have like a small window. But if they have a drop negate, then...
I'll tell you the real reason why you lose to Dredgeku, aside from being able to remove your barrier guys, is because if they play Bardock Unison on turn 2, you're taking damage from every attack they have because you have 0 combo power in your deck.
Yeah.
So the problem with Invoker is you can't get a body on board fast enough to deal with a Unison, which is why I think you need to go the route of... get a beer super combo into a cooler early, like before anything happens, so you can not just lose to a singular card in their deck.
That's what we were trying to do, by the way, in Draft Box 5. We were trying to do that, me and Frisco with Invoker, who's trying to have the arrival cooler.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Is that the issue that I was observing with Invoker is that they cannot deal with Unisons. So you get this snowball effect. Like just picking up and picking up, and then your Unison has 2,500 counters, and I'll do my -7. It's like, well, GG, anything.
Yeah, so. And then kind of coming back off of these various red-green decks, Baby and Surge Broly probably being the primo ones for it. Just going Leader, Double Strike, Resonant, turn 1. If you're able to get a deck like Dredgeku to 3 life, if you're able to get those Unisons off with a Double Strike, your win percentage should increase pretty significantly. So leading into those, specifically matchup, if you get your opponent down to Leader trigger opposed to 2, that's a universe of a difference.
Yep, absolutely. So like,
sorry.
The aggravation of Baby that we were testing, it was after we fine tune it, getting you to 3 life pretty early. It was very decent.
My experience over the weekend and a little bit of testing I did right before the weekend, Zarbon, the tournament pack Zarbon, is certainly a good card. I would say it underperformed slightly. And part of that was the way we were playing it, where you're playing a lot of hand destruction in the first place. Where if you resolve a Ribri and they go from 7 to 5, it becomes pretty easy to play around. If you're not spamming a bunch of discard effects in the first place, Zarbon's value is pretty high. Me personally, I'm really in love with Pod right now. Players are really popularizing it in Frieza Unison, or in the Frieza Leader, which, hi Pat, I mean Eggman, I mean Pat. I really, so like, I don't love it in the Frieza deck after playtesting with it. I've been doing it for a few days now. And it's like, if you open perfectly, your ceiling is super high and it's one of the best decks in the format, unconditionally. But your turn 2 is so dependent on Frieza Zeno Unison and then discarding Dodoria, playing Dodoria. And if you don't have that combo, your deck is just significantly worse, and your leader doesn't draw at all on the front side. So you have to go turn 1 Pod, turn 2 Frieza Zeno into Dodoria, and your deck doesn't draw enough for that to happen consistently. And if you're waiting until turn 3 to play Pod, it's kind of whatever. I personally love it in Broly. You get access to the Nappa Super Combo, which allows you to loop it up on defense as well as on offense with Zarbon, and that's been pretty strong. We got to test the deck a little bit. Jose and I played a little bit on Sunday, and they played really exceptionally well when you're playing mid-range and control decks. Pod isn't great against aggro; it never will be. But I'm really excited to see one of my favorite cards actually have a chance at competitive spotlight.
Yeah, it felt very good at a deck that wants to stay at 7 life and never awaken. Yeah, like basically just being proactive and drawing 2 cards every turn when I uncomboing my super combos and whatnot, my Napa super combo. So yeah, I think that it's got a lot of potential for sure. And for me, it was fun in the sense of like there's so many decisions that you have to make, and too many. You have to be aware about where your cards are, and be aware when do you want to actually use your graveyard before you do Overrealm with Bardock free real estate. So actually, one of the best things that I felt amazing was when you go the Bardock Overrealm and you pitch the Beer's Majesty comes into play. So you basically go you go +3, right?
Mm-hmm.
+3, +2. So
+3 is a 20k swing and a 15k swing. Yeah.
So it's ridiculous in a sense. It felt really good. Like you're not having any repercussion for playing Bardock, you know.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
And then you're putting a lot of pressure, so that's a lot of swings, and then that also enables playing the Bardock Dual Strike 15k that comes when they take 1 damage. So yeah, so like it felt like the deck has the tools to go different routes, you know. Right now I don't know which one is the most favorite route to play. The game that we had was against Gotenks, and since Gotenk is a mid-range, so I was just controlling the game, just playing the resource game.
I like it. Cool. Alrighty, so we're about to go into this lightning round. I will get everything ready in these next minute and a half, 2 minutes. Does anybody else have any closing thoughts about the weekend, the experience, and what we learned?
I am
learned
depressed
that-
because my people are not here.
Do we want to chat about Vegeks?
Yeah, we can take a couple minutes for that. That was probably pretty
probably-
important subject. I think we all kind of alluded to it. Yeah.
I
no,
know we're trying to dodge it.
Zap's a salty boy. He's a salty boy, bro.
I'm okay again. I personally think that
Seasoned is the word. He was seasoned.
He was
seasoned.
it seems incredibly hard to refute that it's the best deck in the format. It's while we haven't tested everything comprehensively, I think we're all still confident that there are decks that exist that can beat both variants with a relative amount of consistency. Are there decks that have like confidently, overwhelmingly winning matchups? That still remains to be determined. I think right now a lot of our concern is the decks that seem to be able to beat the low to the ground aggressive versions probably don't have the tools to beat the mid-range versions.
Correct.
Our current going underneath Vegeks seems to be one of the primary strategies. We talked a lot about the who's the beatdown concept when it comes to Vegeks. And you think about it, and you have 2 leaders, right? And one says, I draw at the beginning of my turn, and I draw 1 leader per turn, or I draw 1 for my leader ability. Then you have another leader that says, I draw once for my turn, and I draw 4 more cards for my leader. Which of those decks do you pick in a vacuum? You usually pick the second one. So you ask yourself, if I'm drawing 2 and I'm drawing 4 or 5, how do you beat that discrepancy? And the plan is to shrink the game as much as possible. So, because that discrepancy 2 against 4 is much more manageable than 6 against 12.
Right.
I know, Matt, you've been thinking a lot about how Reboot Gohan and Vegeks, how they interact. What kind of conclusions did you come on that?
Yeah, so I think, of course, like every matchup in this format is very play draw dependent. I think if Gohan is on the play playing 4 Dharma Potential Unleashed, I think it has a really good chance to close out the game by its 3rd turn. I think it's reversed the other way, and then Gohan has to be a little bit faster when it's on the draw, and again, it's relying on Dharma Potential Unleashed. But then again, if you're playing against the mid-range version, then a lot of things change because the mid-range version should be playing, 6 to 7 negates between power burst and making an entrance, which changes a lot. But I think aggro versus aggro, it's play draw dependent and dependent on if Gohan is playing for Dormant Potential Unleashed. And when it comes to Vegeks, I think the thing that was telling is of our play group, I think I've played Vegeks the most. And so it's not just the deck is incredibly powerful. It's when the deck is incredibly powerful and the player that's playing it knows how to approach a given matchup is what makes it feel even more busted. Because when I was playing against Zap, I know what Dredgeku is going to do. So all I did against Zap was focus on my unison, never overextend into a board wipe, or I would pressure point him into board wiping just to reduce his life total down without him drawing cards. So it's like you can play, the deck can play so many different ways, and it is very autopilot in a sense, but at the same exact time, it just has that feel where it's so forgiving that new players want to play it. But if you're a really experienced player and you're really good at playing card games and you're really good at graveyard-based strategies, then you're going to be able to find a way to win almost every game you play, which I think that's the thing that's the most concerning, is like you'll just always have a route to victory when you're playing that deck because it's just...
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, that's what I was to say. And that's why it's a tier 0 deck, right? Because it's so forgiving, but then the experienced player will bring it will push it to be the actual tier 0, right? So
Frisco, what's your ideas on how to approach the mid-range variant, or people that are playing the deck more of a mid-range?
Well, I think if you're going against a more mid-range version, you probably have to go over the top of it because they're allowing more turns, and then you have to use your energy to do more powerful things to get them down from 6 to 0 in like one turn. You're not going to be able to pick them, and you're not going to be able to go 6 to 5, 5 to 4. You have to go from 6 to 3, 3 to 0, or just some monster attacks because Bibbidi Super Combo is just never going to allow you to do that. It's just you can never piece life away that way. It's just not going to happen. I think what's a little bit discouraging about the deck is that it can play both strategies within the main and the side deck.
65, yeah.
So if you want to be the best Dragon Ball Super player in the game and you want to win a tournament tomorrow, your goal would probably be master both variants of the deck and then get your 65, 50 in the main, and then 15 in the side, and figure out which playstyle you need to do versus which matchup, because you're going to have an out to every single deck in the format.
Yep.
Yeah. And if anybody figures out a way to beat a deck that has both components of the mid-range and the aggro deck and are beating both consistently, give me a call at 555-555-4432.
Well, I would actually say, if they figure out how to beat both versions of Vegeks, right, in their deck, my next question for you is, how's your matchup versus the rest of the field?
Unless you're Vegeks itself, that's the problem with it. It's the way to beat Vegeks is Vegeks.
If you've got let's say, I keep seeing people saying it's baby, yellow baby. But let's say hypothetically yellow baby beats both versions of the deck. What else does yellow baby beat that's relevant in the format? Does it beat Dredgeku? Can it beat Invoker? Can it beat Zamasu? Yellow Gotenks? Can it beat any of these decks? Because that's the question you got to ask yourself. Because
but
if you're a one-trick pony, where if your whole bracket is just I only play Vegeks, I win tournament. When Storm was the best deck in the game, and it was obvious it was the best deck in the game, only 40% of the player base still played it.
Right.
So
exactly.
Matt, you got a point you wanted to add?
Huh?
You got a point you were going to add?
Nah, dude. Just agreeing when I'm talking about my man Vegeks, dude. No, but I think again, I posted a free video on the YouTubes today. That talks a lot about this pitfall, or this idea of I'm going to play one strategy to beat one thing. If you're doing that, you can have an 80-20 matchup against Vegeks all day. But if you're 30-70 or 40-60 against the rest of the field, your deck is trash, it is bad, and you should not play it.
And yeah, bad.
Unless you know for a fact you're going to your 8-man locals and 7 of those people are playing Vegeks, your deck doesn't have merit in a competitive format. It just doesn't.
Because, yeah, you may have the deck that if you got to top 4, your deck would have the highest percentage chance of winning, but that doesn't stop you from going 0-5 in Swiss.
You're gonna get mauled by a tiger in the jungle, bro.
I definitely compare Vegeks a little bit to Storm, whereas like if your deck can't beat Storm, then you probably should restart. And then, but then if you're trying too hard to beat Storm, then it's like how much are you sacrificing?
Exactly. Like
and
yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
Once you cross that barrier line, you're just done.
Yeah, for me, I was like, okay, if I cannot find Vegeks and I beat everything else, like, okay, I'll take the L with Vegeks. I won't even play against Vegeks. I was like, oh, Vegeks, okay. What do I sign? Cool. Here, let me get water.
No, play. If the game is going to revolve around you fighting in a phone booth, you need to learn how to fight in a phone booth and be the person that actually is prepared to do it. If you aren't and you're just prepared to survive in the fight in the phone booth, then once you get out of the phone booth, you're dead anyway. Like
exactly. Serious question. Can you explain for the viewers, since phone booths haven't been a thing for like 15 years, what a phone booth is?
We are old. We know it.
I'm an old man.
I'm just thinking, because this actually happened the other day. Like, you know, my mother's boyfriend Jim was talking to me about how Superman changes in a phone booth, and I was like, one, that idea has always been ridiculous to me because phone booths are see-through. Everybody can just see that Clark Kent is Superman. And two, phone booths don't exist anymore. So,
yeah. A phone booth is a box where there was a phone, and you could actually go and make a phone call because you didn't have phones at home.
Always.
You have to actually use
by using currency
change.
or 1-800.
That is a phone booth.
1-800, bro. Right.
It currently costs $7,500, but that is a phone booth.
Value.
Imagine it being an outside glass urinal, encased urinal, but replace urinal. Yeah.
It's a glass case of emotion. That's what it is.
Just check the thumbnail if you have any other questions. Okay. Closing thoughts on Vegeks before we get into this 10-minute lightning round.
You guys think it's an issue? Just say yes or no.
Yes.
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 And by is it an issue, you mean should Bandai consider doing something about it?
Should it be addressed in some manner or fashion?
Yes.
Yeah, probably.
And I'm gonna go even further in how I would think that should be addressed is get rid of Universe 3, and BBD Super Combo should be only for Boo.
Okay. I'm gonna say get rid of all Universe 3 and ban the 3-drop common trunks in set 10.
Because and this I might be a little bit biased here, but
is this like we're just like throwing out predictions bingo thing here? Because for me it's ban all the Universe 3 cards and then ban the promo that literally has been irrelevant forever except for this one unforeseen interaction.
Okay.
But like, because the new Vegeks engine is pretty cool, you know, like it, and especially with the new promo coming out, you know, a Deadly Defender 24K.
Yeah.
You know,
it just feels like they didn't foresee any of the interactions with the draft cards or any of the interactions with this guy, whatever his name is. What is this man? What is this man's name? Reluctant reinforcements. This guy. This is the guy. This is your culprit right here. This is why this deck's absurd, along with the U3 stuff.
Or the other thing that could,
sorry.
The other thing that could be done is actually have Vegeks only play Saiyans or Xeno stuff or something like that. But you know, it's a star deck, so it's gonna be rough to errata a new.
Yeah, you don't want. I don't think they want to errata the leader, especially since they made that whole video about how your starter deck levels up over the year. Like they probably have something in the works where they're just gonna literally just keep pushing out these expansion packs to make Vegeks better and better for the next year.
Yeah. I think the common trend is the U3 stuff because that stuff always has the trend to be really powerful.
3 is bad.
Yeah,
and let's be honest. In the Tournament of Power Saga, who care about Universe 3? Who cares?
I agree.
Let's be honest.
On a lot of
Paparoni is my favorite character, dude. He should have won the tournament. To hell with 17 Jiren. To hell with Goku. Okay.
I'm trying to say Goku. Who's that
Paparoni,
character,
bro?
Who cares, bro? Who cares who's Goku? Bro?
And then don't forget about as Funimation has named Agnic Lhasa.
Cool.
Alrighty. Thank you all for sharing. Okay, we're going to keep this to 10 minutes. Lightning round rules. I will pick one person. That person will have 60 seconds to answer their question. And then we will go on to the next. And if we go in 10 minutes, we might be able to get most of these in. Alrighty. Order is Frisco, Jose, Matt, Pat, me. Ready, set, Frisco. Pick one deck in the current meta that seems to be under the radar, and why.
I would say anything aggro red, probably Beerus or Baby would be probably underrated. Just something that can go super aggro.
What would be the core?
Not Beerus.
Not Beerus. We'll just say Baby.
Got him.
Tilt.
What was your follow-up question, Zap?
What would the core of it be?
The core of it would be double strikers that cost as little energy as possible, and Bardock, Resolute, and then burn for the last damage, because at that point you're giving your opponent so many cards and so many resources that it won't matter. So then you have to use Liquor or Liquor or the SS3 Gohan with the Champ Pack just to kind of deal the last points of damage without actually worrying about hand disparity at the time.
I like it. Thank you. Jose, sing us a song.
Same question? Oh.
No, sing us a song.
Oh, God, it's easy.
No, not on the spot. I don't know. Like, I feel pretty.
Spy.
I feel pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay. And I'm witty. La 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 la.
Any girl who isn't me tonight, dude.
Matthew, how many ideas about the Dragon Ball Super card game? How much preparation for regional events do we get from the general public? How much to ourselves for?
Wait, can you repeat the question? You cut out for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. About the amount of testing that we do, the ideas that we have, the information that we have about the Dragon Ball Super card game, and what we think are going to be most successful to compete. How much of that information do we keep to ourselves, and why?
Absolutely zero.
Nice.
Why?
Nice.
Because if you think that you are the person that has figured out everything and you think your information is the best, then number one, you're arrogant, and number two, you're absolutely wrong. And then the next thing is that the machine always figures it out, and the machine always does it better than anyone else can. All you can do is get data out there that you think is good, but what's going to happen is that data is going to go through the machine, it's going to get recycled, it's going to get used, and it's going to come out with a finished product that's going to look different than what you want. There are decks that I talked about 3 weeks ago that I thought were going to be top tier that now aren't. So thinking that we are the experts and know everything, that's not going to work. We are just happen to be the people that are passionate and seek information the most out of the community, and that's the reason why we give you the information. We get all of it, and then we give it to you to use. You can do whatever you want with it, but we don't hold anything back.
Exactly. Somebody has to do it. Somebody has to do the lifting, the dirty work. Somebody has to do it.
Right. We did it one time, and that was because we had a lot of people that were relying on this piece of information about Hercule going into this tournament. And
Yeah,
and I wanted to more than anything to release it. But
yeah, it was actually my fault, by the way, guys. Because
Yes.
I needed the invite.
100%.
It was 100% me. If ever you are upset or that we withheld information, it's because of me. I needed the invite. It was the only event I could possibly go to the entire season, and I didn't have the time to do any of the testing or prep work because of other obligations. So it was literally just, I know Hercule is broken. If we could just keep it under wraps for a week, I can guarantee an invite. I can just coast through the event. That is the only time.
There was one more time, which wasn't our fault. We were on a competitive trading card game team that no longer exists, and we were gag ordered for the entire period of time to not talk about anything going on with our competitive team chats or Facebook group, which we had tons of arguments about because of the philosophy that we have. Note that.
I still told you guys I was playing Japan.
Yes.
Yeah, we pushed that boundary.
I've been on both sides of the coin here.
Example that kind of pushes that's like, hey, we're being truthful or honest and forthcoming about this is Niagara last season when we played, or when Zap and then Jose played Brawly Apes or Zapes.
Yeah,
and
we said that
really
the apes are broken. Yeah, we said
and
the breaks were
then
broken.
we
It was actually a
could've
community
easily-
sourced effort.
Right, and this could have been easily wrapped up for that tournament and then waited to nationals because that's the one tournament prior to nationals, but that was
Yeah.
still being played, so that should kind of give you a little bit of insight.
Yeah,
But yes. Lightning rounds, but yes. Short answer is we haven't kept anything quiet since the beginning of 2018. And if you ever messaged any of us the night before an event, for 99% of the population, we would tell you this. The 75-ish cards in our deck box that would be going into our main deck, and other than maybe a couple choices on
One
the
last
inside.
thing. Tournament of Power, I said Invoker would win it. I told everybody Invoker. It still won.
Yeah. One other thing I want to tell. One other thing. Promise.
Nice lightning
10
round.
seconds. So, no, this is really important, right? Because this is our philosophy of life, right? So our main goal here, we're not banking from this. We are doing this because we love this. We love the community. We want to be an example for how to be a good player, how to be a good person, how to be family. So this is what we care about. That's why. Be an example for goodness. There's a lot of bad influence. There's a lot of bad seeds out there. We don't want to be part of that.
I was gonna say, if we did it for the money, we are all grown adults with jobs that make way more money than what this is.
Exactly.
Okay. Pat, design a card right now that makes Zamasu set 10 liters tier 1.
Oh, I mean, there's a very obvious brain dead thing. Like, you just say, we make, a 3-cost card with Deflect that just says you win the game when you
I didn't
play
say tier 0.
Okay, tier 0, yeah. Okay, so tier 1, I don't know, it's not too...
It's probably a finisher, right?
Yeah, it's not too far off. Just, if, there's an EX evolve, Goku Black or Zamasu, something that evolved on top of the 5-drop that we already have, that was basically free. If it was the EX evolve for 0 and had, Indestructible and Double Strike and 30, 25, 30k, and it switched to Zamasu to Actima when you EX evolve. That's pretty much all you would need. It's just another free body basically to just get you over the hump. The deck already does quite a lot of damage in the first 2 to 3 turns, so just having a free card that comes down as a finisher on top of that would be, I think that's basically all you really need.
A free card. You should work for Bandai, bro, with all this free stuff.
I mean, it goes against my philosophy, but based on the way that the game is currently designed, it's Sonic the Hedgehog for me, guys.
Me, if I could redesign one bad mediocre leader or archetype, what would it be and how would I rework it? I'd probably start with every leader that had a archetype or characteristic restriction and only make it battle cards. So the Tournament of Power Green Goku and the really cool Black Xeno leader. Those would still be able to play Unison and still be able to play extra cards regardless of affiliation. I think that was one of the biggest missteps as far as making bad stuff at least mediocre.
Is it minigame time? Minigame?
No, hold on.
We got more questions.
Let's see. Let's go with another one. There's a long. Okay, everybody gets to pick a color. What is one card that would push every color? If you could design one card in each color, what would it be, basically? So I'll give Frisco. I'm going to give you yellow. Design one yellow card.
It doesn't need anything. It's fine. I'm being totally serious. Yellow's already tier 1, and if you give it anything else, it would push itself to another level, and I don't think that's what this game needs.
Okay, Jose, you want to design a new card for red that overcomes some of its issues.
A good unison on 2 or 1. On turn 1 or turn 2.
What would a good unison look like?
A good unison would be, red Demigra unison, I guess. No, I don't know. It would be something that would allow me to either something that gives itself crit or something that gives itself crit or double strike, I guess. But that's too much. But because right now I think the Shenron Unison it's really, really good, but it just conflicts with everything in red, So you don't feel like where am I gonna play him? To the point that we're actually playing red green now, and we're not even playing the red Unison. So something in red that it can actually let me early on debuff the 1-drops from Search You, for example.
Okay.
So so they don't awaken as early, and also drawing. So something that will let me draw when I plus, because red right now is feeling very lackluster. A mono red deck, very lackluster, very
Gotcha.
rough. Yeah.
Thanks for sharing. Matt, green. I know you and I have talked at length about how green, just all the green cards seem to do the same thing. What would be a concept for a unique green card?
At this point in Series 10 format, I think going forward, it'd be nice to actually have battle cards that were worth playing instead of just trying to do things that didn't interact with your opponent at all, like just moving material from your drop area to your warp in order to get something for free. I think just having a 3 or 4 cost battle card that had some sort of way to be put on board no matter what, that had some way to close the game would be awesome. Ultimately, I would love to see a 5-drop finisher with Deflect that had a really unique ability that checked different things. That checked if the only thing you have in your warp is battle cards, like something that pays you for playing the deck that you're playing, but then like a really cool finisher that's like, you know, this card's attack cannot be negated if you only have battle cards in your warp, or something like that, and making it just like a, you know, double striker, or make it crit, make it dual attack, whatever you need to do. Basically enough stats to make it good, plus something that rewards you for playing the strategy you're already playing, and just makes you actually want to commit a battle card to the board instead of just playing lame. Like, just something like that gives green a better identity than what it has now, which is, up until this point, it didn't have an identity aside from all of its cards did the same thing, where it's now in set 10. Both green decks do the exact same thing. They just move cards from one area to another and then just make you discard a card. And it's just like, okay, man, all right, like, cool. Yeah. Like, we get it.
I like it. Pat, add something to blue.
Okay. So blue needs 2 things. They need finishers, which I'm confident that they will actually print at some point because they just banned all the ones we currently have. So the other thing it really needs is a sweeper. So I'd like to see like a 3-cost battle card. It could be like 15k, 10k if that's too good. It's 15k. Blocker, deflect. When it comes into play, choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier with 20k power or less, and just bottom deck them. Like, literally, that's just a strictly worse version of the red Goku we have.
So you want Vegeta, basically you want Vegeta exploding weakness to be reprinted in blue.
He's talking about Kaioken.
No,
Like the red Kaioken that we have. I want the red Kaioken
deflect.
we have in blue, but with blocker and potentially less power.
Okay.
And not having the effect to pay 2 to kill something. Like, it literally, like, blue, like, literally just needs floodgate, sweepers, finishers, and it's perfect. And we just got a floodgate, so I'm going to give them the pass there, hoping that they'll give us a finisher. But, like, the one thing that it feels like they just don't give blue is a good sweeper, because all the sweepers blue's had up to this point have been just awful. Like, we've had, like, a Majin Vegeta that literally kills itself on play only at the end of your opponent's turn and is susceptible to, like, every counterplay under the sun.
I like it. I'll go with black. Ignoring the Vegeks Deadly Defender thing, which is fairly playable, I would love to see black decks have a way to slow down go wide strategies. But at the same time, I know Vegeta really depends heavily, or black heavily depends on like overwhelming. So maybe it would be something like extra card. It would have a specified cost of 2 black. And it would say if your leader is black, warp 3 or 4 cards from your drop to negate the attack. For the rest of the turn, when your opponent attacks, you can warp 4 cards from your drop, and if you do, negate the attack. Something like that encourages a black strategy that's playing black cards to not have to overwhelm, but to have a powerful defensive effect. So maybe something.
Yeah,
like that.
I actually like that idea.
2 more universal questions. Other than DBS, what do you do for a living, and what's one thing you do for fun, not related to card games? So, Frisco, we'll give it to you. What's your job?
I work at a mortgage company. I am a business analyst in the technology area. So we work on processes improvements, make things faster, work things better for our production teams. For fun, my wife got me into ghost hunting. So we go paranormal investigation. We do that quite a bit, at least like 6 to 7 times a year. So that would be, that'd be one of our hobbies is trading card game related.
Cool. Jose, summarize your job in
chemical engineer for one of the biggest consumer products company based in Ohio. I essentially right now work in a function called Ventures, which is essentially creating new products that are not even coming into the market for the next 10 years or so. So a lot of exploration, a lot of like R&D, research and development, a lot of formulation work. So formulation means actually making chemical compounds and to making them into products. For example, like shampoo. Shampoo started as a molecule, as a some concoction in a lab, making an emulsion. Then eventually we found we wanted a function on it. We sent it to consumers to test it, and then became a product. Fun. I like working out. I picked up working out again. I do martial arts. I do Muay Thai. I recently picked up a bike. I'm actually rode my bike today. I rode for 2 hours. It was fantastic. And catching up with my brother. So it's been a while, and we've been playing a lot of video games and playing board games and whatnot. So and with my boys, my family here. My boys.
Boys.
Beautiful. Matt, what kind of line of work do you do besides? I know you're transitioning into a new role.
Besides being thick as F.
I am starting a position as a show manager with Peloton. July 6th is my start date. I've been in customer service leadership roles for a really long time. I have a knack for talking to people, apparently. And so apparently. And so in my spare time, you know, when I'm not doing that, I enjoy things like going to the gym, and living my best life with my girlfriend, which includes going to places, having good drinks, good food. Love going to the beach as often as I can. And then just in general, the biggest thing that I have a passion for is honestly just traveling to see my friends. Like, that's my favorite thing to do the entire world is just I love just getting on a plane for a weekend trip, just going, hanging out, cutting up, having a good time, coming back to reality, and then just immediately setting back in, and then just looking forward to the next one. So I'd say that's pretty much it.
Mr. O'Neill.
So I am a headhunter for an executive retained search firm. We basically place top talent, usually for jobs over $100,000 a year for salary. So I basically get jobs from companies to find people who are in that price bracket, or place people who are already in that price bracket into a new opportunity. My team has represented in the past clients such as Justin Timberlake, the girl who invented Tickle Me Elmo, and the girl who does the GameStop power-up rewards. So that's what I do at my day job. As far as what I actually do, I'm a pretty boring person. I listen to audiobooks, I ride bikes, and then obviously I play a lot of games. Lot of games.
Mobile games.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of mobile games. The one that I play currently like a ton is actually my mouse pad, which is Epic 7. Me and former Shenron's Lair member Christopher Welch are ranked in the top 1,000 globally in that game. So yeah, I play that a lot. Also used to dabble a lot in Super Smash Brothers. Have a lot of well-connected friends in that community, like some higher-end names like D1 and whatnot. And also shout-outs to Android for being not entirely free at Smash Brothers, but kind of sort of. So I ain't scared of your Ken, bro.
That's right.
Called out.
Yeah, Ken doesn't shield enough, dude. I do like everything, man. I make content for 3HC Productions. I'm a massage therapist. I've had a personal practice traveling to people's homes and small businesses in the local area for the last 10 years. I currently am the head coach of an esports program for a local university. I currently I'm a real estate entrepreneur guy thingy. We have a rental and we're actively pursuing another. Spare time, I really enjoy Ultimate Frisbee. I haven't got to play in quite some time, which really bugs me, but we will get there. Okay, it's 11:26, so we'll do one more round. I got one more question for everybody. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Jose, or no, we'll start with Frisco. I'm sorry. Top 3 decks of the format.
Vegeks, Dredgeku, Gotenks.
Okay. Jose, what are the 3 most splashable cards in the game?
The Bardock, Double Strike, the Goku that comes in after pitching a card, and no, what am I saying? No, Saiyan Instincts, Ribrian, and the Bardock Double Strike.
No,
15K.
change the rebrand with this card that's been around since set 1 called Sensu Bean.
It's not that splashable, bro. Not in red.
Furthering Destruction Champa.
It's the FTC Saiyan Instincts Sensu Bean.
Okay, how about then you answer the question for me, because the question for me, right?
Shots.
So for me,
Yep, you got it, bro.
Matthew,
I don't play blue, bro. I don't play blue. I don't play blue, bro.
Matthew, brah, when you gonna get back on the twitch.tv/3xg Productions, dude?
Say this week.
Dead, man. It seems like everyone really wants me to do it again, dude. So I think I'm gonna be trying to do it this week, bruh. Maybe potentially tonight if people are down to play games that are on the Corona Cast. But yeah, I stepped away from streaming for a bit because honestly the reaction to it wasn't what I was expecting. So now that people seem like they're clamoring for it, and the great Marcus Cantarsi has decided to stream and people want to watch streams now, I think I will decide to show off my streaming chops again as well.
Patrick O'Neill,
Yes.
what card needs reprinted the most?
Card that needs to be reprinted the most. Top of my head, first thing that pops in my head is this guy.
No.
So I mean, the card's just too expensive for how generically good it is in black. Like, I don't think the card's inherently broken. It's really expensive and probably should get a reprint.
If you ban the U3 stuff, you don't have that problem.
If you ban the U3 stuff, then you can still play it off Toki. There's ways to play it. It's still just a generically good card for black.
Okay.
I don't know.
Matt doesn't like a response.
He doesn't like my response. Damn, bro.
Toki.
Sure.
You guys are banned, bro.
Cool, man. That's dope. Sick combo, dude.
And last but not least, they asked when we'll finally receive a TN leader. I'm going to take that as how would we design a TN leader. And actually, the Series 10 Green Goku actually would have made for an awesome Yamcha leader flavor-wise, I think.
TN or Yamcha?
TN.
Okay.
Designing a TN leader. I think the other thing, cool thing about TN is the whole multi-technique thing. So maybe it would be something like send your life from, once per game, burn 1 life, and for each life you burn, create a multi-form token, and that multi-form token would have like 20k power or something.
What if you burned a life to make a token that is a multi-form unison? You just creates unisons.
Make a unison.
He just makes a unison with 1 token, and it only has a +1 ability. That's all he does.
I think they would make him centered around an extra card. That was TN's Tri-Beam. And I think it would just be the type of card where it's like a combo card, activate battle, cost some amount of energy, and then you burn life to get some pump plus some effect. But then you have to meet some sort of condition. So say for instance, like you have to destroy a Chaozu, or you have to do something in order to be able to get the effect on the card. But I think he would just be a generic leader that just has like a busted extra card.
I like it. Cool. All right, friends. Thank you for everything. This was a blast. Thanks everybody that we got to spend time with over the weekend. We're looking forward to producing more content again now that we're back. I know we have some hot decks to talk about.
Do we have 2 minutes for mini game for Pat's mini game? Do we have it or no?
Fine. What's the criteria? What are we tier listing?
Tier list.
No. The 5 best questions asked.
5 best questions asked. The job one was definitely the best one because you got to see a glimpse of us. So that's top tier. I feel like low tier would definitely be redesigning a card or like designing a card because I feel like that's just a generic thing that like everybody asks. Also, you can put in low tier. You can put best decks in the format. I don't know. Like that's like those are just questions I feel like we always get asked. Yeah. So those are ones that I'm just like I'm not so sure. I need to hit one more. Something that's in the middle. Starting streaming, I guess. We'll go with that. We'll put that in the middle. Kind of a weak tier list, but it is what it is. Like
Jose singing a song was pretty good.
that's what we call Omega low tier. That's its own tier, dude.
Omega-
Where that
Omega
falls
low
on the
tier.
spectrum, I'll let you guys decide.
All right, friends. Well, keep your eye out. I know. I have decks I want to talk about. Jose has deck lists he want to talk about. We all have ideas we want to talk about moving forward. Can't wait for SCRs. I don't know if we're gonna get those this week, next week, week after. Hopefully that comes soon. And keep out an eye for us streaming on Facebook and or Twitch.
Asaru.
Have a good night, dudes.
And now we can show off real fast this Suzuki shirt.
Chicken and con on the top, yeah, bruh.
Remember, fam, play your cards for free, bro.
Hashtag scrub time, dude.
Best
Yeah.
Best
Chicken
time,
and con in the cup, yeah. Mama.
Okay, thanks. Bye, dude.
Bye.